This book is for the person that's trying to figure out if big ceiling fans would work for them, if they're practical, and how to install them, and which fan it might take. You can become an expert in 5 minutes because I wrote this in a real easy to understand way, or I hope it's an easy to understand way. We've got the control section. Do you want this section to run together or do you want it to run individually? Because sometimes in really large buildings, you have the one whole segment all runs as a group. Otherwise, you often want them to individually control them, but it's really based on if you're cooling people or animals and the general layout. Another section is all about fans for people, then all about fans for animals, and then all about installing fans. And the last part of it is electric. I love electricity. So there's a basic how to wire them, and then I go into like the Ohm's law, and kind of neat how some of this stuff just works. So I'll go over each of these sections, and in the end, you'll be an expert in just a couple minutes. The thing you really need to know is your zoning. So here on this page, I show like the manual control, then we have several automatic controls. And this here shows you like the little manual control. It just controls one fan in its own zone. This next one, this is more for people in warehouses. You can go up to 8 fans, and each of them will run individually. Like you can have this one at 50%. The big tough guy, he wants his fan going wide open. His can be wide open. That one 50%, and then another one 3/4. You can set them all individually. And then at the end of the shift, they all turn off. The fan chief for ag, that's where you might have a long barn and you full of animals, and you just run them all at the same speed. It's super easy to understand. And then the hurricane controller, that is when you have sections that are temperature controlled and each section runs at its own speed. So this will control up to like 20 fans, and it'll like each pen will go at its own speed. You can set starting, ending temperature, all individually. So that's the biggest thing to know about controls, is if you want a group of fans to go together as a unit, or if you want them individually controlled. That's the biggest thing you need to know about controls to get started. The next section of the book is the frequently asked questions, or the kind of design layout. Well, big fans really help me. So you've got wintertime and summertime. So in the wintertime, they will help you depending if you have the right type of heat. So if you've got a hot air heater, which is like a propane thing, blowing big time air straight out like 150 degrees, it'll go right up to the ceiling. If the air coming out of the heater is hotter than your room temperature, it rises like a rocket. And if you put a big fan in there, it'll just push it back down, and your heater will be 4 times faster, or at least it'll seem 4 times faster, because normally when you turn it on and the air goes straight up to the ceiling, you don't feel it until a half an hour later, until it's cooking hot up there, and it slowly pushes the heat down. Whereas this swirls it and pushes it right down if you've got a heater that's blasting out hot air. If you've got hot water in the floor, the big fans won't help that much because the floor is almost at room temperature. If you've got the big tube radiant heaters, they don't help as much for that, because that radiates out and warms the objects, and they're about room temperature. So the biggest need for these is when you have a hot air heater and it's just blasting hot air out that's going straight up to the ceiling. So will a big fan help you over summertime? That is almost a guaranteed, as long as there's people working in a building. If there's no people in it, it's probably not worth it unless you have some kind of humidity, moisture problem that you would have inventory sweating. But if there's people in it, if you have more airflow, they're going to be more comfortable, and that means they're going to work longer each day, and they're not going to quit as quickly and go work in an office job. Because face it, if you're out there busting and really sweating, it's kind of disgusting to be on and on all day long. It's much nicer to have a lot of air moving so you're more comfortable. So that wraps up, are fans really worth it for people? It's got, first of all, basically the people have to be in the building. If there's nobody in the building, it's not worth it. Over summertime, if there's people in there, it really helps. Over wintertime, it helps if you have the heaters that are pushing out really hot air. If it's just room temperature coming out of the heater, it probably won't help. To get more information or to download the book, you can go on our website and download the PDF, or what I would love even better, if you go on Amazon and buy a print version and leave me a review of what you think of the first couple pages. Thank you for watching, and we'll have more tips on how to understand your fans.